Hi guys, Sean here from digiDirect. Today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Nikon Z5, which is a new full-frame mirrorless camera, very much in the vein of the Z6 and the Z7 before it, although at a more affordable price point. We'll see that this is most closely modeled after the Z6 with a couple features removed, hence the more affordable price point. Now without any further ado though, let's take a look at the body of the Z5. Physically speaking, the Z5 is almost identical to the Z6. The build quality is very high, ergonomically it feels great. I really like the feel of the cameras in the Z series, and happily this remains true here on the Z5. It's got a really solid and comfortable build, and it's fully weather sealed. The button layout is pretty much identical to the Z6, the only real difference being that we do not have a top LCD screen. Instead we have this mode dial. Now it does have the same 3.6 million dot viewfinder as the Z6, which is nice and sharp. It has a tilting LCD touchscreen, so it's not fully articulating, which would have been nice. It also has mic, headphone, USB-C, and HDMI ports. One very notable difference, though, is that the Z5 has dual SD card slots, something sorely missed from the Z6 and Z7, which both have only single XQD card slots. I'm glad that Nikon listened to the market there. A new battery is introduced here on the Z5, the EN-EL15C, which has increased capacity versus the previous versions of that battery. It is backwards compatible though, so you can use older versions of the EN-EL15 if you have them. It does also allow for charging the camera via the USB port or even powering it while the camera is turned on. Also debuting with the camera is the new 24-50 f4-6.3 lens. This is an inexpensive and compact lens at the expense of a longer zoom range and constant aperture. It's a great choice if you're looking to keep the cost and or size of your kit down, and if that's not for you, obviously there's still all the other quality Z series lenses to choose from. So the Nikon Z5 has a 24 megapixel full-frame sensor inside of it, which sounds initially the same as the Z6, but it is a little bit different in that it is not a backside illuminated sensor here on the Z5 where it is on the Z6. Functionally speaking, that means that you're going to have a little bit less dynamic range on the Z5 compared to the Z6, but it's not going to be like a night and day comparison. That notwithstanding, the images coming out of the Z5 are very good. They're very high picture quality, crisp, sharp, the colors are very nice. I was very pleased with the image quality on the Z5. Internally, it has the same XP6 image processor that we see on the Z6 and the Z7 as well. One very nice feature of the Z5 is the inheritance of the in-body image stabilization system from the Z6 and the Z7. So that's still providing us 5 stops of image stabilization, which is always very important to have. If you're shooting stills, this is going to allow you to shoot at a much lower shutter speed than you would otherwise be able to, meaning that you can shoot in lower light conditions. And for video, it's going to smooth out your handheld video to give you a much smoother and less shaky look, which will make it look more professional. Of course, being IBIS, that means you don't need to worry about lens stabilization. So if you're adapting older lenses, particularly if you're using the FTZ adapter and maybe some vintage Nikon lenses that never had IS on them, you're still going to benefit from the IBIS in there with those older lenses. So well done. Autofocus wise, the Z5 takes the 273-point AF system right from the Z6. It was a very robust system when I reviewed it on the Z6, and I remain pleased with it here on the Z5. It's fast and accurate, it has good tracking capabilities. We've got face and eye detect here, both for humans and animals, so a pretty wide range of functionality. For the price point of this camera, the autofocusing system is very robust and functional. Now, burst shooting wise, the camera can shoot 4.5 frames per second, both in mechanical and electronic shutter, which is not that fast compared to what we're used to seeing these days. It'll get you by in a pinch if you want to shoot maybe your kids running around or so on. But if you're a sports and wildlife shooter, primarily, you're probably going to need faster speeds. Now, so far, the Z5 has been pretty similar to the Z6, but now let's discuss video, which is where most of the feature reductions were made here. So the Z5 can shoot 4K video at up to 30 frames per second, but it does have a 1.7 times crop when doing so. It's unfortunate, that's a pretty severe crop, as you can see here. The video quality is still quite high, it's just you're going to have some trouble getting some wider shots with that strong crop factor. Now it also can shoot 1080p at up to 60 frames per second. Would have been nice to go to 120, but 60 frames is still going to give you some nice slow motion. It does have focus peaking, zebra stripes. I mentioned already the mic and headphone jack for good audio possibilities. It does not have N-Log picture profile for more advanced color grading, and also the lack of a fully articulating LCD screen means it's kind of out of the question for vlogging and similar. Look, clearly this camera is aimed at a photographic stills audience rather than a video audience. And not every camera can be a beast at both stills and video. And by removing some of those higher end specs on the Z5 in video, they allow, Nikon can get the price down for this model, which is kind of the point here. So if you're someone who's a photographer first, maybe you shoot some video here and there, I think this is no problem. You work around the crop factor in 4K, but you can still absolutely get some very high quality video footage out of the Z5. If you're a heavy video production guy, this is not going to be the camera that you're looking at anyways, and that's fine. So whenever I do one of these reviews about a camera that is built as a spec down yet more affordable version of an existing model, I kind of feel like I'm dogging the camera the whole way through the review. I'm always comparing it to the bigger brother where it doesn't have all the same feature sets. To be clear, that's not the case here with the Z5. I quite like the Z5. I think it's a very good camera. While it may not be for sports and wildlife shooters or heavy video shooters, the price point on this camera is a feature in and of itself. When you think about it, this is a small and compact and affordable camera that is a full frame camera. It's very well built. It has full weather sealing. The picture quality is excellent. It has strong in-body image stabilization system and a very robust autofocusing system. I think this is a great option for someone who's been wanting to enter the full frame mirrorless game but hasn't quite found a camera that's cheap enough or kind of in their range yet. This is a very good option for that, particularly if you have some existing Nikon lenses that you could adapt onto this camera. Or for someone who's a portrait or a wedding photographer, I think this is a great option. Or for someone who owns a Z6 and a Z7 and is looking for a backup body that's less expensive than a Z6 and a Z7, I think that's a great option as well. So I think there's a lot of use cases here for the Z5. Now you can order the Z5 on our website at www.digidirect.com.au, or if you'd like to learn more, you can come in store where you can test the camera out for yourself. We've got stores in the Sydney CBD, Bondi Junction, Miranda, the Brisbane and Melbourne CBD, and Cannington, Western Australia, which is just outside the Perth CBD. Thanks guys, take care.